So this video will be on the recommended tools on the manual for the Type 3. I thought I'd do it because I was curious when I first got one what types of tools I would need and if I needed anything special. So it starts off with screwdrivers. You know, you can buy a set of those somewhere, or you can just get the type where the tip is interchangeable. It's also a good thing if you can get the smaller stubby sizes so you can get into the hard to reach places. It also recommends a punch screwdriver. So essentially you put your screwdriver tip in here, you put it on the nut and you smack it with a hammer, and it puts a lot of torque on that Phillips head. It's like an impact driver, pretty much. Kind of old school, but that's what it recommends. Or you can use a modern impact driver. It also recommends 90-degree screwdrivers, Phillips head and flathead. A lot of these you can get on Amazon. I'll put a link to all those. It recommends combination pliers. An assortment of pliers will do. Combination pliers are the pliers that also have a cutter and then the grip. Anyways, just an assortment of pliers will do. You can get a set of those for a pretty reasonable price at Harbor Freight or something like that. It also recommends pop rivet pliers. Those are also pretty inexpensive and really useful. You can get this straight set or the 90-degree set. They're both good. The manual also calls out for circlip pliers. I have some snap ring pliers. The circlip pliers are flatter. They're kind of like this, and they expand out. It also calls for punches, like a 1 or 2 millimeter and a 3 millimeter. You can buy a set of these at Home Depot, just to knock things out. Like if a bolt's being stubborn, you can use a punch and a hammer for that. It also calls for a center punch, maybe for the metal repairs. It also calls out for different types of hammers. I have a rubber mallet here. It also calls out for an aluminum hammer, which I don't have. I do have regular hammers, which I use. It calls out for a triangular scraper and a chisel. So I found this one at Harbor Freight. Works well, scraping gunk off of the car. And it also has a screwdriver here, which is pretty cool. Anyways, triangular scraper or chisel. This kind of does both. It asks for a file. It's probably for when you're doing metal repair or trying to get rid of sharper corners. It asks for a 3 millimeter punch and a 10 millimeter, but you can get this whole set on Amazon for a reasonable price. So they're just hollow punches, probably for like interior stuff. Wire brushes, probably for metal repair. Calls out for wire brushes or getting gunk off of engine bay area. Calls for an oil can. Pick one of those up for like $4. Calls out for a grease tin. I usually just have a grease gun laying around. This is good for all your joints at the bottom. Make sure you keep those greased. It asks for a scribe, probably for the metal repair part of the car. Yeah, it's just a piece of metal, so you can mark things on the car. The manual also has vernier calipers. I have some micrometers. I don't have a caliper. I should probably pick one up. It asks for a tape measure. The manual asks for a hand lamp and cable, which the manual is from the 1960s, so that makes sense. I have a portable light here. I have about 3 of these Milwaukee portable lights. That's just to work on the cars in general. It asks for a hacksaw. I have an electric one. You can use a handheld one. It's probably just for metal repair again, which I'll probably end up using. It asks for 3 or 4 meters of wire just to run like old wires through the firewall or stuff like that. As for scissors, I'm sure it's for interior stuff, and a brush just for all sorts of stuff. It also calls out for some torque wrenches. I have a few inch-pound, foot-pounds. They all differ in size. Like I got one that's 10 to 100 inch-pounds. This one is 0 to 75 foot-pounds, and then I have one that's 5 to 250 foot-pounds. That's a bigger one. And then the basics, it calls out for a few sockets, but just get yourself a whole kit that is at least like 6 to 19 millimeters, and then that should cover most of the bases. It calls out for a T-handle, which I got just because it calls out for it. Maybe there's a lot of things you got to put a lot of torque on that you don't want. If you don't want to put that much stress on your wrenches, I guess the T-handle works good for that. Also asked for a few hex key here, like for the transmission oil, stuff like that. I just got the whole set. So those are the basic tools the manual calls out for. I have some recommendations I'll add to this video, but this pretty much will get you through most of the car. Alright, here in the back I have some recommendations which you'll probably need. So I have crimps and connectors back here. You are definitely going to need these on any Volkswagen. These things are 40 years old and they've had like 50 owners. I'm sure some of them redid the wiring and a lot of it's terrible. I can show you guys my Volkswagen, but you're definitely gonna have to redo some of these. And a lot of the electrical problems come from the old connectors actually being corroded. So you can get a set of these, pretty inexpensive, but these cars definitely need new connectors. And there's a lot of tutorials on how to use all this on YouTube, so I won't go over that, but you definitely need to get one of these sets. I think the bad reviews come from people not crimping them right. They've worked well so far. Also get some wire strippers. These pliers here, they're hose pliers. I got them for $15 at Harbor Freight. They work great for all the hoses you can't get off by hand. These make everything easier. One of these, it's just to grab parts you can't reach, which happens a lot. Breaker bar. I don't know why that's not on the manual. You need a breaker bar. It's like $14 at Harbor Freight for the wheels and all the bigger nuts. I have a pick set here, just for, yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of things you need them for, but get yourself a nice pick set. I think Harbor Freight has one for like $1 or $2. That works just fine. Now this bad boy is to remove studs, like say your exhaust bolts are stripped. This works great. You just put it on there, torque it on there, and you just rotate this and it'll pop them out even if they're stripped. I also don't know why this isn't on the manual. Drum brake kit makes everything easier for all the springs and such. This should be on the manual. I don't know why it's not. If you're gonna own a 60 to 50-year-old car, you're gonna need a rust remover. This Evaporust works great. You just throw stuff in there and overnight and the rust will be gone. You can throw all the nuts, bolts in here and it only eats the rust, so you don't have to worry about it eating the metal or leaving it in there for too long. You could also fit a whole drum brake in here, which those things get rusty. So just throw it in there overnight and it should look brand new in the morning. And you can pretty much throw anything in here that has rust and it'll get rid of it.